Okay guys, we got a pretty special one for you today. We are heading up north to talk with a Ferrari Dino owner. And if you're not familiar with what a Ferrari Dino is, they are some classic Ferraris that were manufactured during the kind of late 60s and 70s period. They're real cool. They've got a very vintage look about them, and the owner of this one has a very cool story and quite the personal connection with it. So we're gonna go on up there, get some awesome photography and videography for Shift Colorado, and just kind of see how the day goes. But I'm really excited to check this out. The owner seems so cool, so I really appreciate him giving us the opportunity to interview him and check out the car. So let's go ahead and start driving on up there. All right, guys, so we made it up here. R8 did perfectly fine. Feels really good with the new alignment. But yeah, made it to the Ferrari Dino, which is super exciting. We're just getting geared up to do some roller shots of it. And yeah, it should be a really fun time.
You got accessories, which is one belt, which does the water pump and the alternator. There's no AC, crank windows, bare bones,
Pretty
man.
simple.
It smells. I mean, I come out, I go for a drive, I come back, I pull in the garage, I'm like, on fumes. And so I have a carbon monoxide detector that I think does not work. And so Helen, I walk in the house and Helen's like, go take a shower. I'm like, I just smoked a cigar or something, So, anyway, so what about this? I mean, so so when we moved to Italy in the 70s, so the let's start with the two brothers real quick, Germano and Carlo, right? So they were born in Italy, Italians, went through the war, and I have stories about that, but ultimately they're both engineers, went to school, a success story in itself, but they were both car guys from the very beginning, and they came from a town that was about cars in Italy. And so when they finally could afford it, the Germano was the first one, right? He was an engineer at GE. He moved to Italy briefly, and he decided to buy a Porsche 911S in 1971, pastel blue, 2.2 liter, one of the last 2.2s on the factory. And he decided to go to Stuttgart, pick it up. And so my dad got wind of that. He's like, holy shit, my brother, what the hell is going on here? Blah, blah, blah. So what does he think about is a Dino 246, which is the car Ferrari made, supposedly, to compete directly with the Porsche 911 at the time. So the two brothers, I got pictures of my uncle's Porsche, ended up with the two cars that were competing against each other. And they always thought one was better than the other, blah, 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 And when we moved away from Italy and we moved back to the U.S., my father said, look, I can't take it to Brazil. Germano, why don't you buy the Dino? Mm-hmm. He'd rather have his brother have the car than do something. And he goes, Carlo, I'll tell you what, you ship it, I'll take care of it for you. It'll be here for when you come back. And that was the agreement between the brothers. And so when we lived in Italy, the passion started for the Dino. And I remember my dad would say, I saw a couple of Dinos in a couple of these used car, places, and he would always send my mother to go look at the car, because if I go, I'll buy it. So Louis, why don't you go? My mom's name was Louise. Louis, you go, and she goes, okay. She just look at me and go, you come with me, because I'm a woman. And I was like, okay. So here I am, walk in, and we checked out like a half a dozen Dinos in the area for many years, and finally, he found this car in northern Italy, in Alessandria. He had a cousin that lived there, and Luciano goes, Carlo, come up this weekend. We'll go look at the car. They want 5.6 million liras. It's beautiful, it's gorgeous. Very low miles. So he tells me, he goes, I'm going up. Don't say anything to your mother. I'm like, what do you mean? Just pretend it's a business trip. I'm coming back on Sunday if I buy the car. So that was basically it. A Sunday morning in Rome. It was during the austerity of remember when the gas prices were crazy, and so they had even and odd plates in Rome. So depending on what plate you had, you could drive your car. So here he comes. I'm sitting at the doorstep of the apartment building because I knew he was coming, and he saw me sitting there over the crest of this Via Topino was right in front of our house, and he just locks them all up, all 4 tires, smoke everywhere, and I'm going, it's a spaceship. It looked like a spaceship. 1976, this car in the streets of Rome. I'm getting goosebumps because I think about the sound and how it impressed me as a 12-year-old. He comes around and goes, "Go get your mother." I said, "What?" So that was it. She came out and started yelling at him, and my sisters came out because there's echoing through the apartment building, all through the balconies. You can hear her yelling, in English, "You son of a bitch!" And so he took the way he bought the car on her birthday. By the way, was he withdrew money from her account, her retirement fund, without telling her. In Italy, it was communal, right? Anybody could do anything with anybody else's money as long as you're married. So he took that money and bought the car. She yelled at him and then convinced her to get into the car and go for a ride. And they were gone for hours, driving through the streets of Rome, and came back, and she was convinced that this was the right thing to do. So for us as children, what that did is it triggered this sense of work hard and get something that you love to do, and set that as a goal. And I've done that with my children because it works. But mostly it's kind of kept us together because it almost formed a bond between all of us. And to this day, sorry, I call my sisters every time I'm at a show. Because it means so much to them. Sorry about that.
No, you're good. You're good, man.
Nothing to be sorry for. Like that's what we want everybody to feel. Yeah. Right? That kind of connection, that kind of bond is.
Oh yeah.
It's huge. That's why they're more than vehicles for people who care about them. Right? It's all the people, it's all the connections, it's everything around them. Cars are great on their own.
Yeah, I mean,
but
the memories.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Can we get it out on the road?
Yeah.
Let's take some
Okay.
pictures.
Get photos of the Dino driving away to get Dustin's hat. Someone get photos of him leaning down in the intersection to pick it up too.
So we were just driving along and getting roller shots, and Dustin was in the passenger side seat, leaned out the windows, and his hat got blown off. It's pretty hilarious. So we're just stopping and letting him get the hat.
That was golden.
I think based on what I know is just through the senses, what you feel when you drive the car, what you smell, what you hear in terms of sounds. I say sometimes that the Alpha is almost like the Dino, and the reason why that is it's a car that's designed for those senses. And I think it's not as easy to drive, I would say. I mean, it doesn't have all the aids, ABS and all the good stuff that kind of protects you. So you have to be more aware. But I think overall, I prefer the older Ferraris, right? I mean, maybe I'm biased, but from a style, yes, the new ones are absolutely stunning. But I think they've lost a little bit of the what Ferrari was all about.
A little bit of the soul,
Yes,
right? Yeah.
The sentiment and the soul. So I enjoy driving this because it tickles all those things.
Yeah.
Right. So,
Well, yeah, and especially with your connection with family and everything.
Yeah,
it's-
absolutely.
Yeah.
And, people ask me how fast it is, and I say it's not the quickest car, but just the sounds that it emits
Yeah,
are
absolutely.
very unique.
Well, guys, I'd be lying if I didn't say that was absolutely legendary. It was just so cool to hear Pietro go through his history and just tell stories about the car. There's just such a huge emotional attachment to that car, and his family is just very attached to it as well. Very, very cool, very thankful for the opportunity. But I think that's going to do it for the Ferrari Dino, and we will see you in the next one. Please also make sure to check out Shift Colorado magazine. I will link to their YouTube channel and their website in the description below. And I'd love to hear what you thought about the Dino. If you were to have any kind of vintage supercar, what would it be? Let me know. That's going to do it. We'll see you in the next one.